When I was 22, I got pregnant with a baby and the baby's father booted it. I told him and never saw him again. That left me with my daughter, Mel, alone together. It was hard, but I love being everything to my daughter. I was able to take a night program, get a job, took a huge gamble and asked this really nice guy on a date. It paid off and 3 years together and we got married. Just this past April. A first for both of us. Okay, so far so good. I dated my significant other for a year before I introduced him to Mel. Mel wasn't sure about him at first. She was nervous and would hide or was abnormally quiet. But that quickly changed. Mel liked having my significant other's attention. It was a new person to play with and mommy is boring or the rule maker and not as funny. So they grew quite close quite quickly. Once we moved in together, Mel stuck her toe in the water and would call him anything but his name. Peeps, paw, meow meow, etc. Then it was, hey da, and then it was just daddy. From that point forward, she's been effectively glued to him. She wants her dad to dry her hair after the bath. She wants her dad to take her to the doctor. She wants her dad to help her. I said, oh shoot, I broke something. And she just said, don't worry. Daddy will be here soon and take care of it. Having a husband that loves and dotes on a daughter that isn't his own is amazing. It's also amazing to have a daughter who loves my significant other. Things aren't so bad, but my family won't let me forget my sins of my past. We're a waspy group and getting knocked up was a huge fail. Despite making it through night school to become a nurse, I am always the F-up in their eyes. I've been told this in as many ways as possible. My daughter's bio dad is Mexican, so she's darker than us, and while they love her, they frequently point out that my poor decision-making skills led to a child being brought into this world. My mother takes shots at me. She's openly lamented that post-baby vaginas are dangly and then elbowed my husband. What the hell? Your mom's an idiot. She mocked my ability to be a nurse. My husband had a hernia, so I took time off to care for him after surgery. He loved having his sidekick hang with him while I cared for him. My mother visited and asked if he needed a home care service to properly look after him. She'll tell him how hard it must be to accept us, me and our daughter, as is, and she understands his struggle. If I make a mistake, incredibly minor, my sisters will tisk me to remind me that I always make mistakes. My sisters and mother will tell my husband what a great guy he is for his charity. My significant other's parents are also waspy, but different. They're nothing short of thrilled to have a granddaughter. They called recently and asked that I come to their house with my daughter alone. My significant other can't travel because of work this month, and they want the opportunity to spend a week with me and their granddaughter so that they can bond. The idea of spending a week in California with my in-laws sounds relaxing and fun. Dinner with my parents? I get nauseous. We've booked a trip coming up in a few days. This has caused tension in my family. I keep my parents and family in my life because they love their granddaughter and niece. They love to see her and spend an afternoon with her. On the other hand, I can't live with more of their BS. I'm closer to my in-laws than my own parents and can't handle more of my family's crap. I don't want to go no contact with them, but every time I've laid down the law or fought back, it's been met with indifference and a refusal to change. I'm coming to a breaking point. My husband will support me 100% and thinks I need to do what's right for my sanity. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that. Ideas? Yeah, Opie, I've got an idea for you. Just grab all that family that you keep in your life because they enjoy to spend time with your daughter and throw them in the trash. Have you asked your daughter if she likes spending time with them? Regardless, I'm pretty sure them being in her life is not a positive influence considering how they treat you. Children are always watching. Always. And by exposing her to your abusive family, you're just letting her know that it's okay to take that you shouldn't do anything because family. No, OP. Stand up for yourself, tell them to go to hell, and take your daughter to your in-laws. Honestly, they sound a lot more loving than your crappy family. I mean, considering the stupid and idiotic comments from your mom and your sister, I mean, yeah, sure, so you've had setbacks in your life, but look at what you did. You put yourself through night school, you took care of your daughter, she's 6 years old, you found a great guy apparently, and you're married, you're building a great life for yourself, and these people keep trying to push you down? F them. They might be biologically related to you, but those a-holes are not your family. So yeah, OP, in summary, forget them, go over to your in-laws and enjoy being loved. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Mitnista says, okay, your family isn't just hurting you, they're hurting your daughter too. As she grows older and understands more, the damage they're doing will get deeper and more permanent. Here are some ways they are hurting her. 1. Teaching her that being born was a bad thing and a mistake that you made. 2. Implying that the dad she loves so much is only with her out of charity because being with you guys is unpleasant. 3. Making her feel bad about how she looks different. 4. Saying mean things about the mommy she loves. Hearing people you care about routinely tear down someone you love while no one defends them can really mess with a child's head. An adult can rationalize that they're just a-holes, but a child learns, there's something wrong with mommy, probably also me. We deserve to be treated like this. The more attached she gets to them, the more weight she's going to give to their toxic messages. Having no family is better than having such a toxic family. Cut contact for your little girl's sake before she internalizes the message of worthlessness they're projecting on her. Waiting for a Dragon says, your daughter is more than old enough to pick up on the comments your mother is making. What on earth is she thinking? It's appalling. You got pregnant, that's all. It might not have been under the circumstances they would have wished for you, but you've done a fantastic job of dealing with the situation. From what you've told us, you are financially self-sufficient, yeah? So they have nothing to complain about. I think if your daughter hears these comments, she is going to be under the impression she is some terrible mistake that ruined your life. So I think you've not only got to take into account how this makes you feel, you've also got to think about how it makes her feel. Moonlight Racer says, it's only a matter of time before your parents turn this behavior towards your daughter. Being a grandchild does not make you immune to this kind of stuff. I had a grandmother like this, and it took me until I was about 10 to realize how terrible she was to my mother, and until about 15 to realize she was doing it to me. They are not good role models and should not be around your child. And Beanie Dude says, one of the best things my mom ever did for me was cutting out her toxic family. I was young at the time and didn't quite understand what was going on, but I could see her pain. As an adult, I can see that she spared me so much pain by removing us from their lives. Her side of the family loved me to death, but they were inevitably going to treat me the same way they treated her. Just be honest with your daughter as she asks questions. She will respect that even at 6, and even more as she gets older. Alright, well, the community agrees. OP needs to take her daughter away from that family because, well, they absolutely suck. Now, even though OP did reply to some comments, it wasn't anything new to the story. We already know that her family sucks and that her husband is awesome. So on that note, let's move on to the update to see what happened next and how the story ends. But of course, before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's get on with that update. Well, I read everyone's comments. First, thank you. Many of your comments made me cry, and I realized what I was exposing my kiddo to in the hopes of having a relationship with my side of the family. So the long and the short of it is, moving forward, they'll get photos from us and an update letter at Christmas, but our relationship is over. We'll be moving away, and that will be that. I leave AM tomorrow to stay with my in-laws and will be there longer than planned. After reading your comments, I couldn't help but feel that my daughter could be catching on. As some of you suspected, she felt she didn't have a normal family. When I broached the subject about it, she became terrified that Daddy was leaving us. She even asked what she did. Daddy isn't leaving us, but I had a talk with her about my family. She knows our family is different. She doesn't look like Daddy. And Daddy has only been around a little while. So I knew that any comment from my parents going forward would cut deep. She asked about future brothers or sisters and if they'd look like her or like Daddy, and we had a big talk about that. So you were right. She had started to internalize some issues that I didn't want. That afternoon, I called my mother-in-law and just burst into tears on the phone. She was a great resource and we talked for 2+ hours. Without influence or pressure, we talked and she gave me the strength to talk to my parents and tell them that they needed to change. My significant other took Mel out for dinner. She chose McDonald's, despite my saying no McDonald's. Her daddy can't or won't say no, and I went to face my family. My family denied everything, pinned it all on me, and said they loved me in spite of my F-ups. I was delusional about certain things. Effectively, they knew I was destined to be a screw-up from day one, which is why they didn't help me with my schooling, with my daughter, etc. We fought, and it ended with everyone agreeing that I really wasn't a member of the family anymore. They wished me well and asked me to leave. My husband and I were talking about taking a job his company offered. It would be on the West Coast, about 1.5 hours from his parents. After the fight, I felt sure about taking the job. We'd have more money and we could have another child or children. So we put that in motion. My parents asked me to leave, so I never had a chance to tell them that we were actually leaving. I crafted a polite email and told them about the job, about the move, and how I was happy with the decision. I told them I would send them photos and a letter updating them, but that we had made the right decision. I wished them all the best and asked that they refrain from contacting us outside of the yearly letter. I was so upset I threw up. I have never been that stressed out, but it felt great to move past it. I finished some packing and got to bed and slept like I hadn't slept in a long time. My husband even had to roll me because I was even snoring. This morning has been rough and I've had to face the fact my family is out of my life and I am a bit low, but feel better that things will be much better in the long run. Thank you all. Opie's update. I'm definitely not going back. I arrived at my in-laws and sat at a kitchen table where they were feeding their granddaughter all of the food she's not allowed while she kept saying, "We need to live here." I've noticed that at my parents' place, she'd read quietly or sit quietly, but here she's bouncing off a wall. She ran half naked into the kitchen trying to put on her swimsuit so that she could eat ice cream and swim. I can already see a massive difference. I can't put her through that anymore. I never realized to what degree she was suffering. Well, Opie, good for you, good for your daughter, and it's awesome that you're in a place that you love. There's no point in commenting about your crappy family because we already know that they're crappy, so good riddance to them. And on that note, here's wishing you, your daughter, and your awesome husband the best in the future. Take care, Opie, and enjoy your new life. Thanks for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Mystery Key Throwaway. Me, 26 female, with my boyfriend, 32 male, dating 5 years. Found a mystery apartment key and fob on his desk. I'll try to keep this brief, but a little backstory is needed to justify my concern. I've been dating my current significant other for around 5 years, been living with him for 3. So far, our relationship has been great, save for a bump in the road we hit 6 months ago. He'd stepped out to answer a phone call and had left Skype open on his laptop. Normally, I'm not a suspicious person at all, but for some reason while walking by it, I felt the need to glance over at the open chat window. In his contact list were just the name of his business partners and a friend or two that I knew, but at the bottom there was a woman's name I didn't recognize. So against all better judgment, I clicked on it. It turns out it was a woman in China who he had been having extremely explicit conversations with for the better part of a year. She had been sending him pictures of herself in various bras or nothing at all, while he provided commentary, sending her all sorts of compliments I'd certainly never received from him. I didn't scroll far enough up to see how long it had been going. I just packed a few things and disappeared to a friend's house for a couple of days. He, of course, was incredibly remorseful and begged to reconcile. After a very long emotional and apologetic conversation, I decided to forgive him with the caveat that we work on our relationship. He deleted her from Skype, allowed me to look through his computer whenever I felt the need, etc. This brings me to today. My significant other is currently away on business, so I've been puttering around our apartment cleaning and dusting. Well, I was dusting his desk, and sitting there was a key with a very fancy silver fob attached from an apartment rental service I'd never heard of before. It definitely was not from our apartment, that's for sure. I googled the company and they offer apartments everywhere, from about an hour away to across the country. One of the provinces was somewhere he'd been recently on a business trip. Since they only offer residential apartments, there's no way it could belong to any of the subcontracting companies he's been interfacing with over the last couple of months. It's possible there's a logical explanation for this, but due to the past history, I'm having a hard time coming up with one. I sent him a Skype message earlier today asking him about his trip, then bringing up the fact that I'd found a key and fob and was wondering what it was for. He has not yet responded. Am I just being paranoid? Is this something to worry about? Is there an explanation I'm just not seeing here? Why would he leave it lying around if it would incriminate him for something? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Well, OP, unfortunately, mistrust is a side effect when you get cheated on. And unfortunately, just having a conversation and being on the same page about wanting to work on the relationship doesn't mean that trust is going to get rebuilt right away. Trust takes a long time. If he had never had that inappropriate chat with this girl for I don't know how long, if that would have never happened, you would have seen this key and would have been like, whatever, and kept on dusting. But in this case, you couldn't do that. So to your question, are you being paranoid? Maybe, but it is justified. Is this something to worry about? Again, maybe you don't know until you talk to him about it. And the explanation you're not seeing is that it could just be a key. But again, you won't know until you talk to him, and that is if you trust him. So I would say, OP, wait until your boyfriend responds and see if his answers make sense to you. After that, then you decide, hey, am I ready to still be in this relationship or not? And if the answer is yes, that you still love him and you want to be with him despite what he did in the past, then I think you guys should do some counseling in order to work through that. If not, well then you know what to do. And what do you guys think about this situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Roaming Amber says, not a lot to go on until he responds, but if he's serious about rebuilding trust with you, he should be prepared to address this key. Sucks for him if it's an innocent thing, but that's how you address broken trust. And OP responds, thanks, you're totally right. I felt ridiculous when I first sent the message, but it's true that the trust will take time. Baby Armadillo says, this just sounds like an awful way to live. You'll never be able to trust him because you already know that he has violated your trust in the past. Do you want to spend the rest of your life playing, is he banging someone else or am I just paranoid? At this point, it doesn't even matter if he's cheating or not. If you are never going to be able to relax in your relationship again, your relationship is already over. Get yourself in a position where you can leave, dump him, and go find someone you trust. Dominique Anne says, if he travels a lot for business, is it possible that the service is sort of like an Airbnb type membership to save hotel expenses? That was my first thought. Maybe he shares the membership with his business partner, so you've never seen the key fob before. Additional information from OP's comments. When he travels, he typically just stays at the house of his business partner, so an apartment fob or key wouldn't be necessary. The service is definitely an apartment rental service. I checked out their website and they only rent 1 to 4 bedroom apartments. Also, the key was tucked away at the base of his monitor. If I hadn't been cleaning, I never would have even noticed it. Now, his business has taken off recently. He's currently the breadwinner since I'm a master's student who only works part-time and school full-time. He easily makes quadruple what I do. So he's actually got more money now than ever, and we're still living in the same crappy bachelor pad. So I'm not sure if that means extra money is going elsewhere. But it's definitely possible he could have a second apartment without me knowing. Alright, well the community called it's a trust issue, and OP still has a few questions. So let's move on to the update to see how the story ends. Hey guys, it's been a while, but I thought I'd update about the situation. So, as it turns out, the mystery was solved rather quickly when my boyfriend finally responded to my Skype message saying it was a co-worker's key from the city where we live. Looking at the key again, the first 2 letters of the code engraved on it represent our current city. So obviously it opens up a door here, and not in a neighboring province as I let myself think. I verified this by asking the co-worker if the key was his, and he confirmed. Basically, he uses the key to let himself into a co-worker's house whenever they need to tinker on a project, mostly because the co-worker's doorbell is busted, so he never hears anyone knocking. He works in tech, so the co-worker does a lot of soldering and testing that require a closed lab in his basement. He doesn't even get cell reception down there. The fob, which was really a keychain that looked like it had a button, was from when that co-worker lived in a nearby province a few years ago. That was just the keychain he used to hold his spare keys. So yeah, clearly I've got some work to do on myself. So I guess my question is, has anyone let mistrust and doubt get the better of them before? What can I do on my end to make sure this doesn't happen again? I didn't consider myself to be a mistrustful person when this happened. I feel so dumb. Well, OP, you got an explanation like you were asking for. Now, the only follow-up question I have, and maybe I've misunderstood, but this is a guy that works in tech and does a lot of soldering, so he knows his way about electronics, I would think. How come he has a busted doorbell? But anyways, OP, mistrust will sometimes get the better of you, not just with your partner, but with other people as well. However, in your case, because you were cheated on, then yeah, I would think it's something that's a lot more present in your day-to-day. And it will keep happening until you get over the trust issue and rebuild the trust, and that's something that the both of you need to work on together. So on that note, OP, I'm gonna wish you the very best in the future. Take care and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.